The May 5th, 2025 Auburn City Council Workshop will be called to order. First item of business is a discussion on the creation of a community development corporation for Auburn. Mr. Cousins is here to remind the council. We've had discussions on this before, and their proposed language is in your packet. Mr. Cousins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We've been working, myself and Jay Brenchick, our Economic Development Director, on this. Over the past few years, there's been a couple of projects that we think could have benefited from having a vehicle like this to hold properties for the city. 186 Main Street would be an example, and 7 Chestnut Street, another example. Having a separate economic development corporation that could hold a property for the city can sometimes make us eligible for additional funding sources that the city might not be directly eligible for. And it can also limit the risk of owning a property, especially a property with environmental issues, where we could have used that on especially 7 Chestnut Street over the past couple of years. In the past, we had, through the Lewis and Auburn Economic Growth Council, we had Auburn Business Development Corporation that kind of served this purpose as well as a lot of other purposes. That board had a really large membership. We've been looking at different models, and what we're finding is we think we could really make sure that the Community Development Corporation focuses on exactly what the council wants them to work on at any given time, and initially anyways has a very limited scope of holding properties unless they're directed to do something different from the city council. This would be a board made up of city employees, including the city manager, economic development director, and finance director, and 1 member of the public to be appointed by the manager or council, depending on how you want that to go. That smaller board would allow for the council to have significant ability to direct what they work on through the manager's office at any given time. And it would also allow for that membership to change based on the city positions that would rely on that Community Development Corporation as part of completing larger projects. Happy to answer any questions. Wanted to have a discussion. If there's anything else you'd like to see changed in the format, we could do that before we bring it back for any kind of a formal action of the City Council.
Questions from the council? Council Platt?
I had 2 questions. The first is in regard to dissolution, and I'm only asking this because I would only want to create something if we knew how to deal with it when we don't want it any longer. I see the Article 7 on dissolution and giving some guardrails, but I'm curious what that process would look like. How much control would a future council have to continue this existence or stop this existence?
I think the first question is what triggers the dissolution? Can the board dissolve, or does it require an action of the council? It would seem that the board could dissolve this. Mr. Manager, do you have any?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that the way that the corporation's set up, the board could dissolve, then it would, anything after clearing its books, anything else regarding any changeable assets would then revert back to the City of Auburn.
And I think the majority of its membership being employees of the city, 2 people working for the city manager, and the city manager themselves would give the council a fair amount of influence on what that board would do, even if it was a dissolution of it.
Yeah, that's good. I just want to make sure we're all confident with, if we're creating something, we also know what the exit plan is if it goes awry. And I guess my last and second question was just I guess anyone can answer this, but what are the immediate low-hanging fruits that we think can be accomplished after this is formed? Obviously, there's paperwork and just some admin stuff that needs to take place, but what are some of the first things that folks would want to tackle with this?
Yeah, as staff, I don't think we have a specific project in mind. It's more looking back right now on 186 Main, as well as 7 Chestnut Street. There would have been benefits to having an entity like this for those projects. We do have other tax-acquired properties. The city council could potentially use this entity to help further a redevelopment of those properties. We don't have a specific project at this time, but we'd like to have the ability to use the Community Development Corporation if a project develops.
Yeah, I would think in addition to that, one of the first things that the board's going to have to deal with is capitalization, because there's enough a latitude in this to do development activities in a way similar to what the prior entity did, and that requires capitalization. So it would seem that that would be one of the first items that they would take up to see if they could come up with a strategy to capitalize the corporation. Council Whiting?
I'm assuming that, you know, like these examples you cited, Eric, that had we had this, you know, Community Development Corp in place, the city council would have voted to convey to the Development Corp, and then Development Corp would redevelop and so on.
Yeah, and that may be part of a capitalization strategy too, where any proceeds from sales of property like that get rolled into, you know, future projects that are directed by the council. I think 186 Main Street could have been a good example of that. The other parcel was privately owned, but this group could have held it, but city council didn't own it to give it to the group.
Other questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next two items are executive sessions for which no actions expected to follow. So for the public, the council go into executive session when we come out. If it's before 7 p.m., we'll reconvene at 7 p.m. for the regular meeting. So the first item is an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405 6E for consulting with legal regarding tax-acquired properties. Is there a motion?
Motion to move.
Moved by Counsel Walker,
Second.
seconded by Counsel Milks. Vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? The council will be in executive session. The May 5th, 2025 Auburn City Council meeting will be called to order. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could have the councilors introduce themselves, starting with Councilor Geary.
Good evening. I'm Belinda Gary, City Councilor at Large.
Good evening, Rick Whiting, Ward 1 City Councilor.
Good evening, Tim Cowan, Ward 2 City Councilor.
Good evening, Steve Milks, Ward 3 City Council.
Good evening, Jeff Harmon, Mayor.
Good evening, Ben Wisner, City Councilor, Ward 4.
Good evening, Leroy Walker, Councilman, Ward 5.
Good evening, Adam Platt, City Council at Large.
Good evening, Anaya Eggy, Student Representative.
Phil Kroll, City Manager.
Thank you. There's no consent items tonight. For the first order of business will be approval of the minutes from the April 22nd, 2025 regular City Council meeting. Are there any errors or corrections? Not seeing any. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved
Second.
by Councilor Walker, seconded by Councilor Platt. The vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? So we have 6 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstained. Councilor Wisner is abstaining because he was absent at the April 22nd meeting. We have one presentation tonight. So we're really pleased to announce tonight that the Auburn Rec Department is launching a Volunteer of the Season Award. This will recognize amazing individuals who've dedicated their time and passion to the young athletes in our recreation program. This special honor will be presented after each sports season to one outstanding volunteer coach, celebrating their invaluable contributions to our community and a positive impact they have had on our children. Our inaugural Winter 2024 awardee is a true testament to the spirit of dedication. We're very pleased to announce that the honoree is Jeff Smith. Jeff, if you could come forward. Jeff. Jeff not only stepped up to coach 2 teams this past basketball season, but he also went the extra mile by officiating other teams' games to help out. His commitment ensured our young players had the opportunity to learn and compete, and for that, we extend our deepest gratitude. Congratulations, Jeff. Our second presentation this evening is a comprehensive plan update from the chair, Mr. Cleveland, chair of the Comp Plan Committee, and Mr. Heigerter, who is our Director of Planning.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, Mayor and members of the City Council, to give you an update on the work that we're doing on the comprehensive.
Just bring it
Pull it closer.
Is this better?
Closer.
How's this?
A little better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for the opportunity. David and I are here to give you an update. This is the first of what we expect to be periodic updates to keep both you and the members of the public informed on the work that's going on this important activity of having developing a new comprehensive plan. There are, I'm going to speak very quickly on 6 particular areas to bring folks up to date, not only yourself, but members of the public. We'd like to keep them informed as well. So I'll talk about what a comprehensive plan is and why we're doing it. I'll give you some update on the progress to date. I'll talk a little bit about the comprehensive plan components, the work we've done to date, and what our next steps are going forward after that. So the reason why we're doing a comprehensive plan now is that the state law requires each community to do a comprehensive plan in statute every 10 years, a full plan. The last time a full plan was done was in 2010, although there was update to certain sections in 2021. So we're a little bit beyond the usual timeline, but that's the reason we're doing it, because state law requires a community to do it. A comprehensive plan is a 10 to 15-year planning document developed and adopted by the municipality that identifies the status of the natural resources, public infrastructure, demographics, economic and financial condition of a municipality. It also establishes, with significant public input, a future land use and growth plan for the municipality with policies and strategies to guide future policy leaders in its implementation. So that's, in a broad sense, what a comprehensive plan is and what we're looking to accomplish. So the process to date was that the City Council, back in October, November of '24, appointed a comprehensive plan committee. We started the organizational work in December of '24 and in January of '25. There are 19 members, as you may remember, to the committee, a wide, broad section, including the planning staff, entire planning staff, and the administration, as well as a broad cross-section of public members. A consultant has been hired, Barry Dunn, a very competent firm, was retained in January. We had the Comprehensive Plan Committee had their first meeting with the consultant and the staff in the end of February of this year. And we've also met, in addition to February, we've met in March and April as well. So we've just begun, but we've gotten a lot done. We also have, just for your knowledge, is a sort of a leadership team that involves myself as the chair, David from the planning department, and the consultants. We speak every couple of weeks to make sure we're staying on track and staying on schedule with our work. The components, as you may remember, of a comprehensive plan include the inventory of the current conditions. These are outlined in state statutes. There's 11 chapters involved there. We've grouped them into 3 major sections or categories. First, it's people and the city services, natural environment, and the built environment groups. After that, there'll be an analysis of the inventory of where the community is currently, and projection will be made in relationship to those particular sections. So, for example, projection will be made on what the population may look like in 10 or 12 years in the community, or where we might like it to be in that amount of time. Community engagement is another important part, to have input and visioning. We want to, some of the tools that we're going to use to get significant input includes a survey. That's actually been released. I'll talk about that in a minute. There's an interactive website. David's going to show you some information about that, so the public and yourselves, if you like to look at it, can see all of the information we're working with and what the progress is. There are going to be subcommittees involved. Excuse me. At all of our meetings, we have a section where we encourage public input from anyone who would like to comment. We're going to have subcommittees, we're going to work on various sections. All of our meetings are recorded, and you can either see them live or on YouTube. And there's written minutes, which will all be posted, so keep everyone up to date. Other parts of the plan are going to be the action plan that will be developed. That is, what are we going to do to achieve the goals set out, policies, the actions, a future land use plan, and our goal is to have the comprehensive plan complete, to bring before you for review and adoption by July of 2026. That's pretty fast schedule for a comprehensive plan for a community of this size. So what we've done so far is we've created a project work plan and a schedule through February of this year to June of 2026. We've created an interactive social pinpoint for the comprehensive plan where information is available. This will be available on the city's website. Anyone can look at it and see all the information that we're working with, as well as the minutes, and there'll be a section where they can leave comments and be interactive and give suggestions. The city has already provided more than 30 studies and reports directly to the consultants, so they'll have that information to use to put together for the inventory and analysis. They've also received the state packet so far, which is filled with information in regards to environmental issues and demographics and that kind of thing. The consultants have been diligently working on these 11 chapters, and in fact, at our May meeting, we'll make a presentation, the initial draft presentation on all 11 chapters coming up at the end of this month. So making very good progress there. The community survey, which I alluded to, has been completed, approved by the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and has been issued already. And David tells me that was just issued May 1, and I think we have something in the order of 96, 95 responses to that survey already. So anyone who wants to, and David will show you where they can find it, can fill it out, and we hope they do. Our next steps is to do the community survey. We hope to complete that by the end of May. And we also want to include students. We very much want to have input from the younger generation. We're working with the high school, middle school age to provide opportunities for them to tell us where do they think the future of the city is, and where might they see their role in the future. So we're working to get that information. There's going to be community engagements, which will go through May, actually through July. We're going to review the inventory and analysis at our May, June, and July meetings to give it a complete report. And so we're making very good progress for the amount of time we had, and we'll periodically keep you up to date. David will share some visuals for you to show you some of what we've done.
So what I wanted to really show the council and the public was how to get to the social pinpoint site. So working with Liz and the consultant, we have it right up on the homepage here, really can't miss it. And the whole idea with this is to get community input. And as John mentioned, the survey is out, went out on Friday. We've already had 95 people submit. You want to click on that, and it gets you to this. This is what the social pinpoint site is. So whenever you hear somebody talking about social pinpoint, this is it. And it's really important for both the committee and the consultant for people to use this. This is kind of where all of the information is kind of gathered, one spot, a clearinghouse for that. Right here is the survey. The survey is going to be up for the month of May, maybe going to June, depending on how we're doing for responses. But I mean, it's simple. It's just a Survey Monkey type survey. I encourage everybody to fill it out if you haven't already. It'll be very helpful for the whole process here. The other thing I'd encourage people to do is this email updates here. Anytime that there's going to be some information related to this process, and then, as John mentioned, it's a process that's going to go through till next summer. emails can be sent out through this. So we'll have your emails, we can provide you notifications as to when committee meetings are gonna be, or maybe there's a blast that we're looking for more information to be gathered on a certain topic or item. This would be the place that you folks could do this. It asks just an area where you might be, what interests you might have, because there are gonna be some additional meetings that may focus on some of those areas there. There's this idea with this wall here. We've had a few people submit things in here already, but again, it's kind of like you'll hear, maybe you've been to meetings where there's been exercises where they do like a sticky on a wall where you're like, hey, give us your thoughts about something. This is just an electronic version of that, so you can potentially put things on there. And what I kind of like is this interactive map here. And there's been a few people that have submitted on it already. But if you have, there's different categories where you can enter something into the map. So, for example, we'll just click somewhere. Where's my little, add a marker. You have these different categories: strength, challenge, and ideas for the future. So you say there's a challenge about this specific area, and you can zoom in really tight on it and just put your information in there. And it gives everybody an idea as to what maybe a strength or an improvement should be in that area. I think this will become more relevant as we get further into the process, because there is going to be the whole land use, future land use map, right? And that's what gets people excited. All of a sudden, we're saying you're going to have an industrial park in your backyard, or we're not going to allow residential uses. People are probably going to want to tune into this map then and say, hey, that's a great idea, or no, we have concerns about that. So again, the whole idea is just to get the council and the public engaged, making sure they use the website, and stay involved with the process.
David, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the council? Council Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate all the hard work you guys have put into this. Is there a paper version of this for those that don't have a computer or is computer savvy? I'm one of those.
So for the survey itself here, this document here, yes, there are paper copies. We have them available in the Planning and Code Office. We've talked about putting them on the clerk side as well in case somebody's over there. We'll be reaching out to the library to see if they want copies, or maybe they've already provided copies. Liz Allen's been great getting us flyers and whatnot, so the more we can circulate these documents, would be appreciated as well. There's a QR code out there that exists. I'd say if any of you are involved with any organizations or groups where you think you can hang something up or share a document, maybe let Phil know and we can get you those documents and we can get the word out a little bit better.
So people can either do it the old-fashioned way with pen and pencil, or if they like to do it electronically, they can do it that way too.
And they can mail it to Planning and Code, or they can just drop it off to us as well.
Other questions from the council? Council Platt.
Thank you. My question was, between now and, was it June 2026 when this wraps up, or July, I'm sorry. Are there plans, or has it already been in the Sun Journal? Have there been efforts to advertise outside of the city's internal channels?
Yep, so Liz has reached out to all of her outlets as far as getting the word out there. So the thought is at some point, I'm sure we're gonna get a phone call from some of those folks looking to do an article and whatnot. And again, I think if this process isn't controversial, it doesn't gain attention, then we've probably done something wrong. Because the idea is to get people's input and attention in going through this, so.
Other questions? No, great. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
update.
Thanks.
The next item is a communication from Clerk Carrington that the tax and the clerk's office downstairs will both be closed for business on this Friday, May 9th. All the staff will be attending training, so tax office and the clerk's office will not be open on Friday. We'll now move on to our first open session of the evening. Members of the public are invited to address the council on items that are related to city business, but which are not on tonight's agenda. So if you're intending to speak on an agenda item, there are either public hearings or public comments on every agenda item, such as the budget. If you have issues that are not on the agenda tonight, please approach the podium and provide your name and address.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Misty Edgecombe. I'm an Auburn resident. I don't feel super comfortable giving my address on YouTube. Sorry. I serve as the chair of Auburn Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I'm here tonight on behalf of our board, our staff, and the countless residents who rely on our programs, not as luxuries, but as essential services. The proposed $80,000 cut to Recreation Department
Excuse me. If you're commenting relative to the budget,
Yep.
can you please make your comments when we get to that agenda item?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. So it would be after
Yeah.
this.
Good evening, counselors. I've never done this before, so I'm a little nervous. I am new to Auburn. My name is Johanna Mitchell. I live at 129 Lake Street. I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I work in the Lewiston Public Schools, but I've served communities all across the state of Maine. I love this community. I think it's beautiful and it has so much potential. There was an incident in the house next door to me at 133 Lake Street on Sunday morning that everyone is probably aware of. And my biggest concern was that there were 13 and 15-year-old girls in an apartment with 21-year-old men, and this has been ongoing since I moved in there. I think that it speaks to a larger issue as far as access to resources and services for young people and having an alternative to hanging out with people with drugs and alcohol. And that's something that I'm working with my fellow colleagues and stuff on coming up with plans, which I'm going to reach out to these guys for sure. But I'm definitely concerned about that building and how there's no adults there. I don't know if the person who owns the building is being held accountable for what's going on there. And I just wanted to make the community aware of this because it's very upsetting to see that. And I watched the entire thing unfold on Sunday morning, so that's it.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate your input. Is there any other member of the public who'd like to address the council on an item that's not on tonight's agenda? Please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, the open session will be closed. We'll move on to new business. The first item is Resolve 0105052025, adopting the appropriations resolve, the municipal budget for fiscal year 2026. This will be a first reading and a public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Council Plath. Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by Council Cowan. We'll open the public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to address the council regarding the FY26 municipal budget, you may approach the podium, provide your name and address. I would ask, given the large crowd tonight, that you keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Just making sure. I don't want to look silly twice. Okay, my name is still Misty Edgecombe, and I still serve as the chair of the Auburn Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So I'm here on behalf of our board, our staff, and the countless residents who rely on our programs, not as luxuries, but as essential services. The proposed $80,000 cut to the Recreation Department represents more than just a line item. It risks our senior programming, a blow to the very residents who built this city and now count on us for connection, mobility, and mental well-being. It threatens youth programming that keeps kids safe, active, and engaged. These are measurable impacts on real people. We understand the challenges that you face. The tax levy is a concern. Budgets are tight, but I urge you to consider where the scalpel is being applied. At a time when making hard choices, frontline community services should not be the first to go, especially when there are still non-critical administrative positions in transportation and tourism that could be reevaluated, consolidated, or even paused without interrupting direct services to residents. The Recreation Department isn't just about basketball. It's about public health, safety, social cohesion, and prevention. For a relatively small investment, we produce a massive return in quality of life and community well-being. This department has done more with less for years. Staff take on multiple roles, stretch resources, and show up every day to serve children, families, and seniors. Cutting this team further does not trim fat, it cuts muscle. I respectfully ask you to reconsider the proposed reduction to the Recreation Department. Let's protect the programs that protect our people. And if cuts must come, let them be made with an eye toward long-term sustainability, not at the cost of those who rely on us most. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. If there's any other member of the public that would like to address the council, please approach the podium, provide your name and address.
I'm Becky Hutchins. I live at 128 Country Club Drive. I am concerned about the position cut from the senior center. The programming at the senior center provides us with social interactions, cognitive stimulations, which requires a wide variety of activities. The programming is especially important for introverts. It gives us a safe place that is warm in the winter and cool in the summer. From what I've seen, from my experience, the positions that the people, the positions require a great deal of thoughtful planning, which is very similar that's required from a teacher. We are older, and we rely on their careful planning to keep us safe, to keep us engaged, to learn new things, which supports our general well-being and prevents us from isolating. I appreciate the hard work that you do, and I hope that you'll take Auburn's older citizens' concerns into careful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's any other member of the public who'd like to address the council, please approach the podium.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors. My name is James Parakilis. I am the board chair of LA Arts, which is the arts agency of the cities of Auburn and Lewiston. We have had excellent support from the city of Auburn for the last couple of years, and we appreciate that the city manager has recommended the maintenance of that support of $25,000 this year, but what is apparently being proposed now is a substantial cut to that grant. I want to mention two things in that respect. One is that we have established a very successful program through the Auburn Recreation Department of art workshops for seniors at the Senior Community Center. The $10,000 grant that is in the present budget proposal will not be sufficient for us to maintain that program. Another thing that I understand the city is very interested in is pursuing public art. We have worked with Auburn in the past on public art. We are very eager to work some more, if that is the city's interest in its development plans. And I would like to say that we offer great expertise in this, and if you didn't take advantage of our expertise, you would have to pay a lot more for professional advice and help with that. But we, in fact, have extremely expert experience in this field. It's a disappointment to us that the support from Auburn appears to be so diminished this year, but we would always look forward to working with the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public? Please just approach the podium when one person leaves if you want to address the council.
My name is Kathy Lupo. I live on 393 Center Street. I'm a fairly new resident to Auburn, and the Rec Center Senior programming has been my segue to get to know other seniors in the community. And it was quite disturbing when one day we have a person doing their position and, setting up everything, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. And that, it did not sit well with any of us. Auburn's advertised as being an age-friendly community, and I don't think that is the full potential where it comes from if you're, cutting a position where it helps promote your city. So I would encourage you to re-examine that cut. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public who'd like to address the council on the budget? Please approach the podium, provide your name and address. Not seeing any, the public hearing will be closed. Discussion by the council. Councilor Geary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer amendment to the city's budget. I would like to cut the city councilor's salary in half for this next 2-year fiscal budget. According to our charter, this is the time when we set the salary for whoever comes in the next year. It's been an awful tough budget year, and I thought we need to show that we're not above, like other programs and other positions, to have a cut. So again, I make that motion that we cut the city council and the mayor's position in salary in half.
There's been a motion by Councilor Geary. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilor Milks. Discussion by the council.
I just have a question about what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Can you dive into that? My understanding is that what was proposed is not necessarily in line with what we have the right to do.
Yeah, so to be clear about what we're doing here, so it's as we've discussed before, and legal has weighed in on this when the discussion has come up before, is that the council cannot modify the stipend that the councilors or the mayor gets during the term of that council. They can't reduce it, nor can they increase it. What Councilor Geary has proposed is not to modify the stipend for the current council, it's to modify for the next council. So just to be clear, the motion, since the issue that's in front of the council is the budget, this motion is amending the budget line. There would need to be an order brought forth before the body to actually modify the stipends that are in the ordinance. But at this time, what Councilor Geary is suggesting is that we modify the budget. I'm assuming that if such a motion is to prevail, that then would be a forthcoming order to modify the ordinance at an upcoming meeting. Does that provide the clarification that you require?
It does, and I'm happy to give my opinion on it. I'm happy to donate my entire salary to any department at the city. I struggle at the thought of changing these stipends. I think historically the discussion has been actually that, I'm not saying about this personally, but city councilors and mayors in Auburn and other cities should actually be paid more to attract higher talent. I'm not saying that's the case today. We're in a tough budget cycle. I think that I agree with Councilor Geary's comment that there could be a statement made by the council by foregoing our stipends. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'll donate 100% of it. But I struggle at altering these pay rates in the future for something we're dealing with today. That's just my thought. I would like to see what the rest of the council thinks. I'm happy to support this, but I think structurally, if the goal is to divert our stipends to different causes, I'm open to donating mine. I'm a little afraid to suggest an order to change what the mayor and the council, what those stipends are. I think that's problematic in the future.
Other comments by the council? Councilor Cowan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I support the intent Councilor Gary is putting forth, and I do have concerns that Councilor Platt's raised, that, you know, my understanding is that the last raise that was made 2 years ago was because of the time, people being expected and wanting to have good, you know, highly talented folks. It does send a message. However, 50% cut when we have not asked any department in the city to cut 50%. I just don't know if that, you know, I'd be open to looking at potentially reduction, but I think there are, that seems extreme to me, given the amount of time that councilors put in.
Councilor Milks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I voted against the pay raise the last time. I support Councilor Gary on the 50% cut. I think it might be clunky to do it now, and I don't know if we want to put that out at a second time, but if this is where it's got to happen, then I'm okay with that. Like I said, I voted against the raise the first time, and like Councilor Platts has said, I'm not doing this for the money, and if you saw what we got paid, you'd realize we're not doing it for the money, so I'm fine with that.
Other comments? Councilor Walker?
Mr. Mayor, would you please tell the audience and the people that support us here as councilors and mayor what we actually get and what it ends up being at the end of the year?
I can tell you those numbers. So the mayor receives $7,000 for the year, and each councilor receives $4,000 for the year. So a 50% cut would be $17,500.
Mr. Manager?
I'll try to help respond to Councilor Walker. I think that, and we did speak of this during the workshop, so you know, it's unfortunate we'll bring it back up now because this is not the right time for this type of motion to come forward, because there's no actual impact to the budget that's being recommended. You cannot reduce your salaries by ordinance. You can reduce the incoming council by ordinance change, but you cannot reduce the sitting council's salary here during the budget process. So I think that that's just an important component that you need to look at. If individuals want to donate their funds back, and we've had this, the clerks, the finance office has kind of worked through that before with individuals. There's a process. It's still salary that you receive. There's still an obligation of you of having received that income, and so there's a process, and so we can work through that. However, this budget cannot be changed by any vote that you take tonight on reducing your salary, because it's null and void. You're violating ordinance, and so we cannot do that, and there'll be no impact on that. If you want to look at another line item, you can do that, but you cannot reduce your salaries.
Further discussion, Councilor Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I beg to disagree. The rest of our salary, for the new council coming in, their salary starts in December-ish. So that savings would be going from January to July 1st of next year. So it would be taking money out of this current budget and putting that in. It could be put into most anything. The thing is, when I ran for office, I didn't know I was going to get paid. I never, ever wanted the money. I do not have the luxury of being able to donate it to any charity or any cause, because anybody that runs for office that's on Social Security, retired, or SSI, or any other veterans or whatnot, whatever added money you get is counted as income. In fact, I lose money by being a city councilor. So that is a cross I bear. I'm not in this for the money. I'm trying to figure ways to save money. This budget was hard as hell to try to do anything. We didn't ask any of the departments that weren't willing, I mean, we asked everybody across the board to take a cut. We didn't try to single out rec department and senior programs. That was just the way the axe fell. So, as I said, I disagree with the city manager. This is a line item in the budget, and we can cut at least from January of next year till the summer. And then it'll be a whole another year before the next council is up for re-election or election, and then they can, if the budget is better and we have more money, then they can change the income of the next city councilor coming in. And when the vote is taken on this issue, I request a roll call. And if there's any other paperwork that needs to be done, if we win this vote, or, well, it won't happen if it's not, but if this thing passes that we cut our salary, then yeah, I'll request paperwork to be put in for our next council meeting or whenever we need to do it.
So just so everyone's clear, because there's a bit of confusion on this, so I want to reiterate this. So again, this council has no authority under the charter to change the stipends for this council. Because, as Councilor Geary has pointed out, because a new council will be sworn in December of this year, 6 months of the stipends would go towards the next council. So the council can, if they wish, amend the budget to decrease this line item, which the finance director can correct me if I'm wrong here, would be $8,750 between all the stipends, correct? You could decrease this by $8,750, and if so, the city would be obligated to pay that money regardless of the fact that the budget has been amended, unless there is an order that comes forth that's passed by the council that changes the ordinance. Should that happen, the succeeding council that will be sworn in December of 2025 would not be able to change that in any way throughout their 2-year term, because the ordinance would have been changed. They are not permitted to change their own stipends, either increase them or decrease them. So I'll leave that as an explanation at this point and see if there's any other comments by councilors. Council Platt?
Yeah, I won't be able to support this. I can't be making financial decisions for a city councilor that's not me 2 years from now, who may have different needs than us on the council. I understand Councilor Gary's point. I understand the need to send a message. Again, I am more than willing to donate my salary, or I understand your predicament, Councilor Gary, but I feel dishonest making a decision now which doesn't even address the issue, which is that we have programs and services being cut today, not in 2 years. So I won't be able to vote for this. I'm happy to consider this in a workshop as a future item, not tied to this budget. But if we're talking about looking for $80,000 for the rec department, I'm happy to look for that. I'm happy to donate my salary to the rec department, but I can't support this vote. I personally think it's short-sighted for the future.
Other questions or comments by the council? Councilor Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recall a couple of years voting for the increase, and I did based on the fact that you know, the council didn't have increases for years, and it's a very political thing. It reminds me of what happened with the Maine governor. For probably 30 years, the legislature argued back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to the point where the governor was making less than half of the workforce working for the state of Maine, which was totally ridiculous. In this instance, I think, you know, the discussion that we had a couple years ago was, we want to encourage younger people to run for city council. I'm not running again. I'd like to see a younger person in my seat. Maybe that person has to pay for daycare. $4,000 a year might cover that, and it would be, you know, pretty much nothing left after that. And I don't think anybody up here is doing it for the money, and I think people on the next council won't be doing it for the money, but I don't see the point.
Other questions or comments by the council? Yeah, so my thought on this is I don't support this for the reason that Councilor Platts has articulated. You're taking an action to reduce the budget by $8,750. I understand that. The people that is going to affect is a future council that'll have nothing to do with this budget, and for people who we don't even know who that council might be. So I think if the council wants to have further debate on this, councilors could bring forth an order pursuant to the rule. If there's two councilors who want to bring this forward, I'm happy to put it on the agenda. We can have a workshop and bring the order before the council for a vote. But I would urge councilors not to take this action in the context of the budget. Any other comments? We'll wait. Councilor Cowan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is for perhaps for Kelsey, but just, you know, for future understanding, do we talk to you in terms of what those steps would be if we wanted to donate, and what the...
Absolutely, you can reach out to me and we can talk through that process.
Any other questions? Councilor Walker, anything as you were out from you before we go to a vote?
No, I heard you.
Yeah, okay. Is council ready for the question?
I requested a roll call.
Yeah, I get it. So, is council ready for the question? The vote will be by roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Walker?
No.
Counselor Platts?
No.
Counselor Gary?
Yes.
Counselor Whiting?
No.
Counselor Cowan?
No.
Counselor Milks?
Yes.
Counselor Weisner?
No.
Two having voted in the affirmative and 5 in the negative, the motion fails. So we'll return to the main motion and discussion by the council on the budget. Councilor Platt?
I'd just like to address everybody who's here to speak about age-friendly and rec. We're about to vote on this budget, and I just want to remind everyone, this is a first reading of the budget. I am going to vote for this budget, and I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks thinking about what's been set up here and looking to see if there's ways to salvage those monies in the rec department. But my vote today will be to pass this budget so we can move forward. There's a second hearing on this where we'll have more public testimony and more opportunities if amendments need to be made. So I just wanted to reassure the public, and whatever happens up here, this is not the final vote on the budget. So everybody needs to be aware of that.
Other comments by the council? Councilor Cowan.
I do thank those who came out to provide your input and guidance. I just want to reiterate that we asked all departments to make cuts. It's a very tough year, and I think there's some information, some clarification in terms of steps that the city manager's working on that I hope he can provide to us tonight in terms of what is going to be happening in terms of adjustments to try to maximize the programming for the senior programs. You know, so we can as well further consider that over between now and our next meeting. But I think it's just been a tough. There's a lot of tough decisions that were being made, and just keeping that in mind. That, you know, I too am going to be voting on this budget tonight. It's not because I don't value any of these things. I value everything that's been cut. We just had to make those hard decisions across the board, from rec to public safety to public works, every department in the municipal budget, as well as the school department. So,
Other questions or comments from the council? Council Whiting.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I, agree with other comments made here. It's been a difficult year for the budget. I am a little concerned about Mr. Parakilis's comments concerning a cut to the arts program. I wasn't aware of that. Our understanding on rec department cuts were that they were to be done in such a way that there wouldn't be a diminution or reduction in services, so they'd be delivered differently, maybe through volunteers and that sort of thing. I wasn't aware of the LA Arts thing, so I think there's some discussion, before the next vote, but I am going to support the budget, and we will look to tweak it.
Other questions or comments from the council? Just like to, Council Walker.
Thank you. I've been chair of the Age-Friendly Committee for quite a few years now, and one thing that we did not want to do was have to cut. And we all sat up here thinking, where are we going to make cuts and where are they going to hurt? And we were just hoping that the cuts would be so small that we wouldn't really be hurt by them or lose people by them. But deep down, we all knew that it was going to hurt us some way, someplace. And we're all sorry about it, but this budget is what it is. And we're going to have to vote to pass it, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to figure out a couple things that will make things easier. And we're not just saying that to try to please you. We know exactly how bad these cuts have hurt throughout the whole city. And we're sorry it's the year that it has to happen, but we have no choice.
Other comments by the council? A few things that I think might be helpful to clarify. So relative to the senior programming, I got numerous calls and emails, and I know some of the councilors got calls and emails as well. I want to be clear, no senior programming is being cut. There is a grant position that is being eliminated, and I think it's important for the people here tonight to understand how this evolves. So when we gave our expectations to the city manager, the school superintendent as well, but relative to the municipal budget, to the city manager, we were very clear, and we asked him to bring forth a proposal that only included current services, and we were very clear that for limited period positions, things that were grant funded when grants were going to run out, as an example, that would be an additional addition to the budget, because that was not being paid by the municipal property tax levy. So when we had the discussion with the council in the workshops relative to the recreation department, there was discussion about cutting the some recreation programs, and I believe that's what the chair of the rec committee was referencing when she spoke earlier tonight. But those are not in senior programming. The senior programming that exists today will continue, albeit with a different mix of people, because a part-time position was eliminated. But the programming was not eliminated from the senior program. I think it's also important for people to understand two particular facts, right? The budget is very complex, but there's two things that I would point out. And the first is that as the council started to work the budget, the projected property tax increase was 10%. That was not acceptable to any councilor that sat up here. It wasn't acceptable to myself. It wasn't acceptable to the staff, and I applaud the council for doing a lot of hard work and making some really difficult decisions on how to reduce that down to a more acceptable level. The other thing that I would point out is the operating budget, which is the piece of the budget that is the operational cost. In other words, the day-to-day cost to run the municipal government and run the school department. Those operational costs came in at a 1.9% increase, which is a full point lower than inflation. However, the rate of non-property tax money that the city and the school has been receiving, the rate of increase in that has declined. That, and with forthcoming capital expenditures for infrastructure, required some significant work by the council to bring the budget down into a more acceptable level. So I think I agree with what a number of the councilors have said, that there were a lot of really difficult decisions across a lot of different departments that frankly, I don't think anybody that's sitting up here really wanted to make. But in order to get balance out what people want for services in the city with the tolerance that they have to pay property tax, that's what drove us to the budget. So with that, any further comments by the council? Council Milks.
I'd just like to add, there's things in this budget that I'm not happy about. There's a couple of line items. We've had some very vigorous conversations and disagreements about. But I feel like all of the departments have come forward with and have made real honest efforts to cut where we could. We tried to do it as best as we can to not eliminate policemen and police officers, firefighters, teachers, as best that we could, and to not reduce programs for kids, not reduce programs for seniors. And I realize that it's not perfect, and there's things in here I don't like, but I'm going to support the budget because I do think it's a good budget.
Any other comments by the council?
I guess one last thing that I wanted to say to everybody sitting down on the council and in the public who's watching, this is going to happen. This difficult budget is going to happen every year for the next 4, 5, 6 years. We are in a time right now where the economy is nothing we've seen before. We have some very real capital expense costs on the city side to build out the public safety building. This is a voted initiative. This is not something the council can say, we don't want that, it's too expensive. This year we had a 22% increase in debt service. Debt service is something that comes on after we go out to bond for capital improvements. We are tied into a 10-year process right now. This will happen every single year. So I'm only saying that just so we as a society are prepared for this. Every conversation that we as counselors are having with constituents over the next 12 months, I would hope that, I know what I'm going to be asking constituents is, would you like your taxes to go up or would you like services to go down? Because that's the world we're living in. I say this for no other reason, just so that everybody understands the fiscal state that we are in right now and the difficult decisions and conversations that we're going to be having every year from here on out. So I hope that every year we get better at these difficult decisions, but they will persist and they will be a part of this process.
Any last comments by the council? Council ready for the question? The vote will be by roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Platts?
Yes.
Counselor Gary?
No.
Counselor Whiting?
Yes.
Counselor Cowan?
Yes.
Counselor Milks?
Yes.
Counselor Weisner?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
6 having voted in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the motion is adopted as a first reading. And to follow up on what Council Platt said earlier, there will be a second reading of the budget on at the regular council meeting on May 19th. And while there is no public hearing, we will be taking public comment as we do for all of our agenda items. We'll move on to the next item, which is Order 4005052025, authorizing the city's general obligation bonds in the amount of $11,762,700 to finance the city's FY26 capital improvement program. This will be for a first reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Cowan,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Whiting. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the council relative to the capital improvement bonds, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment will be closed. Discussion by the council. The council ready for the question? The vote will be by roll call. The clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Gary?
No.
Counselor Whiting?
Yes.
Counselor Cowan?
Yes.
Counselor Milks?
Yes.
Counselor Weisner?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
No.
Counselor Platts?
Yes.
5 having voted in the affirmative and 2 in the negative, the motion is adopted as first reading. The next item is Order 4105052025, adopting the 5-year capital improvement plan for 2026 through 2030. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Platt.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Whiting. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the council relative to the 5-year capital improvement plan, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment will be closed. Discussion by the council. Council Platt.
Just as a point of clarification, approving the 5-year plan is just a ceremonious vote, right? It's a framework vote as opposed to a binding vote, correct?
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't characterize it as ceremonial, but it adopts as you say, a framework plan as we did this year and the prior year. The council will review that plan and take it into consideration, but they're not obligated to expend the capital funds that are in the plan. They'll make a decision each year on bonding. Councilor Whiting.
I'm supportive of it as a template subject to future revision.
Any other comments by the council? Council ready for the question? The vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative, the motion is adopted. The next item is Order 4205052025, adopting the fiscal year 2026 budget of the Auburn School Department. Is there a motion?
Motion to move.
Moved by Councilor Walker. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Weisner. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the council relative to the FY26 school budget, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment will be closed. Discussion by the council. Just for the public that's watching, so they understand the process, we are approving the school budget as put forth by the school committee after revision from comments from the council. And once the school budget is approved, it will go to referendum June 10th. Yeah, thank you. June 10th will be the school budget referendum. Is the council ready for the question? Vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative, the motion is adopted. The next item is Order 4305052025, accepting the Safe Streets for All report and safety action plan. The council and public will recall that we had a workshop, I think, 2 meetings ago, where the Planning Department and Maine Department of Transportation provided an overview of the plan. This is the action for the council to adopt the updated SS4A plan. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilor Cowan. Seconded by Councilor Weisner. If there's any member of the public who'd like to address the council relative to the Safe Streets for All report and safety action plan, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment is closed. Any discussion by the council?
Mr. Mayor, does this mean that Main Street is in this, or is that separate from getting Main Street done this year?
Yeah, that would be separate. My understanding, and the manager, perhaps, the Director of Public Works is here, they can correct me. My understanding is that the Main Street paving's an MDOT plan that MDOT is planned to do for several years, but for contractor capacity hadn't. I believe they're going to try to pave it this year. Is that correct, Mr. Holland?
I can probably weigh into that. So I just signed the proposal for DOT for our matching dollars. So it's in their queue, and I think the goal would be that's for Maine, Maine Broad, and there's one other street in there. So the hope would be that that's going to continue moving forward, but it's in their queue.
Well, I'd like to ask that if you or Public Works could find out how far out, because Main Street is still a disaster. It's not a safe street by far. So if we're going to vote in safe streets, maybe somebody ought to go out there and wave a red flag around or something.
Yeah, this would be separate from that action. But yes, we'll work with them. It's the fact that I received the paperwork from DOT gives me hope that we're moving in the right direction. We'll be hopefully be able to get that done this year.
Yeah, but again, that could be October, and I don't think we should leave this street until October with the kind of, broken areas and everything that you gotta travel. It should be at least patched up if it's gonna be that far out.
Yeah, so the manager can discuss the issue with DOT. I think we're probably going to be in a situation that we were in. It's all going to depend on where it is bid on their list, because as we've seen for the last couple of years, they work down through their bid list and they get to a point where there's no bidders because there's no capacity. So the manager can contact MDOT, make them aware of our concerns, see if we can get any further information about what the scheduling might be for that project. Any other comments on the item before us, which is the SS4A plan? Is council ready for the question? Vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative and none in the negative, the motion is adopted. The next item is Resolve 0205052025, adopting Vision Zero for traffic safety. The council will recall that this has been an ongoing, this is an update to the ongoing Vision Zero plan to try to reduce traffic accidents, especially fatalities, and especially those related to bicycling and pedestrian traffic. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Council Whiting.
Second.
Seconded by Council Geary. If there's any member of the public who would like to address the council relative to the Vision Zero plan, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment will be closed. Discussion by the council? Council Geary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, you were saying that this is for pedestrians, bikers, and what about people in power chairs, wheelchairs?
Yeah, I think it's all type of multi-use, and it's really a guide that will help our city plans to reduce traffic accidents and fatalities.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure, because down in New Auburn, we've had at least 2 people, either in a power chair or scooter thing, hit with a car.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Council Whiting.
Thank you. I would just like to also have it noted, down by Festival Plaza here, closer to the light, that crosswalk near the hair cutting place. It's a horrible area that needs a lot more attention, because the likelihood of somebody getting hit is I see drastically increased. I watch people crossing day after day, and nobody's trying to cross and nobody's stopping. So I would at least like a mention that intersection, that area be looked at, because I think there's a high probability that somebody will get hit because traffic is not stopping in that area. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Mills.
Yeah, I'm in favor of making things safer for pedestrians and other folks walking. What does this resolve commit the city to?
Well, it commits the city to recognizing this goal. It doesn't commit the city to any particular action. Mr. President?
Mr. Mayor, I think you've explained it well. This resolve is not specific to any exact projects. It's just that as we evaluate projects and look at transportation improvements, we will try to prioritize those that reduce or eliminate hazards to people in all modes of transportation, whether they're on bikes, pedestrians, or any other mode.
Mr. Manager?
And I would just add that we also leverage this when we apply for other grants. That says that we are one of the communities that have signed on to this initiative, and we use that as part of our leveraging for future grant funding.
So everyone knows it's not a specific program, it's a concept that we're supporting so that we're not actually voting to put in bike lanes or something like that.
That's correct. Any other comments from the council? Is the council ready for the question? The vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative, the motion is adopted. The next item is Order 4405052025, nominations for the Androscoggin County Budget Committee Caucus to be held on May 21st, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Platt, seconded by Councilor Geary. Just to make sure the public that's watching understands the action here. So the county charter requires for the budget committee membership from Auburn for county commissioners District 5 and 6, a municipal official and a member of the public for each. The recommendations before us are for County Commissioner District 5 is Timothy McLeod and Councilor Whiting. And for District 6, Albert Bergen and Councilor Walker. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the council on this item? Please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, public comment will be closed. Discussion by the council. The council ready for the question? The vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion is adopted. We'll move on to reports. I have a few items to report. One of the benefits of being mayor is once in a while you get to do something fun, and I get to be one of the judges along with former state representative Margaret Craven at Letters for Literacy. And it's a Scrabble tournament. It's their fundraiser. They raised about $10,000 towards adult literacy programs in the community. It was a great time, and I'm going to be sending something to the superintendent and to the city manager to challenge them to come up with a municipal and a school team next year to participate. Last week, the Maine Mayor's Coalition had the Mayor's Day at the legislature. I attended with the other members of the coalition, and it was a great opportunity to interact with legislators and meet with the governor relative to items of importance to the larger municipalities. A number of us attended the Central Maine Community College Awards Banquet. There's some really moving stories. They're doing amazing things. I think that, you know, it's a hidden gem in Auburn where it sits. Lots of people don't see it, but they're closing in on 5,000 students, and there was some really impressive work by some of the students and what they've accomplished and the adversity that they've overcome. And the last item I wanted to mention, I attended the opening of Safe Voices. Safe Voices is the domestic violence group for Androscoggin, Oxford, and Franklin County. I attended the opening this last week of their renovated building in Lewiston, which was great. It's a very nice facility. It will help them do their work. Unfortunately, a lot of the discussion had to do with the federal budget, and the way the federal budget has now been proposed, they would lose approximately a third of their funding, close offices, and reduce their shelter capabilities for victims of domestic violence. With that, Councilor reports. Councilor Geary.
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Whiting.
Thank you. Just like to note that the Auburn Public Library has passes. I think they're in the children's department, but passes for various museums and cultural institutions, and recently have added the Coastal Maine Botanical Garden for passes. That's a very expensive place to go, so for a family, they have to reserve them. There's only one a day, so you might not luck out if you hit the wrong day, but talk to the library.
Councilor Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too attended the open house, grand opening for Safe Voices Resource Center. If you have a chance, it's a really great facility. 100 Lisbon Street, a lot of excitement. Staff does a lot of dedicated work. And if you're interested in supporting them, I encourage you to check out the website. And as Mayor Harmon mentioned, there may be a greater need in some dollars, but one of the cool things was the number of people who contributed dollars to create this resource center. The vast majority gave under $100, I think. One person giving $8. It was just a really great community effort, so I wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. Councilor Mills.
Yeah, I'd like to report that as unusual as it sometimes is, there's been a lot of work done on Court Street, and particularly the sewer department has worked hard over the last few years to separate the stormwater from the sewer, and had why it's important is there's a big tank over in Lewiston that was built that we have an obligation to pay our portion of based on the flow that goes into it. And we had a very difficult to find in our very old city part of the sewer that was contributing to the flow. Well, they dug up Court Street, they plugged it, and this was something that the superintendent had been like a pit bull trying to find. He thinks, and it's too soon for me to commit to any reduction in our apportionment for the paying for that tank, but it looks very favorable that they might have found one of the main culprits of stormwater running into the sewer in Auburn, which could mean many, many thousands of dollars in savings for the ratepayers of Auburn, sewer ratepayers. So that was good news. And we need sewer trustees. It's a very, very amazingly fun job. So come on over.
Thank you. Councilor Wiseman.
Nothing to report.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mayor.
Walker.
I'd just like to put a thank you to Sam Boss for putting together the Earth Day community cleanup. And I also want to thank the people that came out and helped us clean up. I think everything went well. We wish we would have had many more people, but maybe next year or maybe this fall, we'll try to do it all over again. So it was done in honor of Larry Pelletier that passed away and used to be out there every day picking a little litter and trying to direct people, take care of their dog and what the dogs leave behind. So thank you, Sam Boss, for everything you've done.
Thank you. Councilor Platt.
Thank you. Yeah, two quick announcements. Also, Sam Boss and the Conservation Working Group, they've got actually, and Rihanna LaRose have put together the pollinator garden in Pettingill Park. You guys are staring at the flyers in front of you. This is an annual initiative, planting pollinator garden in Pettingill Park, giving people an opportunity to see what types of plants bring in native bugs and bees and all sorts of good things that are great for our environment. There is on May 10th, Saturday, that's next Saturday, this coming Saturday, you can go down there and help spread loam and dirt. And then the next Saturday on the 17th, if you want to show up, you can help plant things, and that's from 10 a.m. to noon. And I also want to say I was at the Central Maine Community College awards ceremony last week, and I was talking to the city manager, and I haven't been in there in a while, and it's just a reminder that Auburn is a college town. That is an incredible campus, and they're doing incredible things. And it's tucked away there, and people don't often see it, but Auburn is a college town because of that place, and it's incredible, and I encourage everyone to check it out if you haven't had the chance.
Thank you, Representative Egge.
I just wanted to remind anyone who's interested that tomorrow EL is having their spring concert, so the band and choirs will be singing and playing music at 6:30 tomorrow in our big auditorium that I forgot the name. And also, I just wanted to say a shout out to everyone who's been working really hard. All the seniors, top 10 was released, which is awesome, and I think it's so important to recognize those people, but also to recognize that there's a lot going on behind the scenes for people who may not have like a high rank. I think that it's important to recognize how hard my entire senior class has been working and over these 4 years. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add to Councilor Platt's regarding the pollinator garden, we did receive notification that the Maine Cooperative Extension has officially certified our garden as a pollinator-friendly garden, and so we'll be receiving a certificate, a nice sign, and they'll also be working with Public Works to continue making improvements there. So great job from the team there and our Conservation Working Group. Also want to thank the police department. A challenging weekend with several severe incidents, as was mentioned by our citizen, our neighbor of one of those locations. Just a lot of work, a lot of extended hours during those types of standoff events, but always pleased when it resolves itself without any injury, and we can address the situation. I think that, as was mentioned, we need to continue to looking at intervention, prevention opportunities. Both of these incidents over the weekend involved our youth, and so ensuring that we're expanding on that and finding collaboration with other community groups to do a lot of work in that area is helpful. So thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Earl, Finance Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So I would like to note that all departments are running on revenues and expenditure levels that are as expected for this time of year. So there's no areas of concern. I will note in the reports you see a reduced percentage for school revenue, and that is what's contributing to the largest percentage change. That's not an area of concern. If you want to know why that's different, I can certainly reach out to school, but my report does not attempt to explain that variance. Individual department lines are all in comparison to last year or previous 3 fiscal years, which was around 68%, and 86%, and we're at 81% this time of year. I'd like to also note that both Norway Savings Bank Arena and Ingersoll turf facilities are at an operating fiscal gain now at this time of year, which is great news. And this report is for the period ending March 31st. So we're looking back a bit. You'll have the April report in the upcoming meetings, but everything is on track and no areas of concern throughout the city.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the finance report? Councilor Walker.
No questions. I was just going to say I accept your report.
Councilor Walker's moved to accept the report. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Cowan. The vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 7 having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative. The report has been accepted. We'll now open the second open session of the evening. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the council regarding items that are not on tonight's agenda, please approach the podium and provide your name and address. Not seeing any, the open session will be closed. As a matter of scheduling, 2 of the 3 executive sessions the council disposed of earlier. We will be having one executive session for which action is expected to follow. That will be the only action that the council takes other than adjournment after we come out of executive session. So the next item is an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 4056A for a personnel matter. Is there a motion?
Motion to move.
Moved by
Seconded.
Councilor Walker, seconded by Councilor Platts. All those in favor? Opposed? The council will be in executive session.
Oh, shit, it's still-
So the council will be back in open session as follow-up to the executive session. This item will be Order 4505052025 regarding the executive session on a personnel matter. Is there a motion?
Motion to move.
Second.
So to clarify, that the motion is to remove trustee Daniel Bilodeau from the Auburn Sewer District Board of Trustees for being absent more than 3 consecutive meetings pursuant to Auburn City Council Order 06-1003-2002. Discussion by the council? Council ready for the question? Vote will be by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? 6 having voted in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the motion is adopted. There's no further business for the council this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councilor Walker.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Cowan. All those in favor? The council will be adjourned.